You have everything you asked for. The warm room, the fast food, the screen that never goes dark. And you are still miserable. Ask yourself why. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I'm joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining, why does modern convenience make us miserable and how can we choose discomfort? Let us start with something obvious that everyone refuses to see. Comfort is not the problem. The problem is what comfort does to your will. When everything is soft, you become soft. And a soft will cannot make a real decision, cannot hold a real commitment, cannot endure a real challenge. You have traded the capacity for something for the feeling of having everything. That is not a good trade. You gave away the mechanism by which you become capable, and you got a faster delivery window in return.
I understand what you are saying, Epictetus, but I think you are describing the symptom and calling it the cause. The hunger that drives people toward convenience is not laziness, it is something older. Perhaps it is a flight from anxiety, a deep and unexamined fear of what might surface if one were left alone in a quiet room with nothing to reach for. The devices, the deliveries, the endless stimulation, they are not luxuries, they are defenses. The question is what they are defending against.
You are both pointing at the same person from different windows, but I want to ask something simpler. What do people think they are doing when they choose convenience? They think they are saving time, but I have never met a person who saved time and then had more of it. The time disappears into the next convenience. That should tell you something about what is actually happening.
LAOZI is right that the time disappears, but for the wrong reason. It disappears because ease breeds appetite. Give a person frictionless access to distraction and they will consume more distraction. This is not mysterious, this is not psychological, this is physics. Remove resistance and effort flows toward nothing. The Stoics understood this. They practice cold water, simple food, deliberate poverty, not because suffering is noble, but because resistance builds the faculty of choice. Without that faculty, you are not free. You are just comfortable and inert.
And yet your cold baths and voluntary austerity, I wonder if they can become their own form of avoidance. The man who imposes rigid discipline upon himself often does so to avoid feeling something he cannot name. Asceticism can be as much a defense as hedonism. Both are strategies against the same interior vulnerability. The Stoic says, I will master my discomfort. The hedonist says, I will drown it. But neither is actually looking at what is underneath.
That is a fair point, but I think you are both still treating discomfort as a problem to be solved. Epictetus wants to forge through it. Jung wants to interpret it. What if discomfort is not a problem? What if it is just what it feels like to be a person who is actually present?
That is elegant, LAOZI. But it does not help someone who cannot sit still for 10 minutes without reaching for their phone. We are not talking about enlightened beings who need a gentle reframe. We are talking about people who have become structurally incapable of tolerating delay. That incapacity is not natural, it is trained. And if it was trained, it can be untrained. That is not a philosophy. That is a fact about how humans work.
But why was it trained so easily? That is the question you keep stepping over. You say convenience weakens the will, as though will is a simple muscle. It is not. The reason modern convenience colonizes people so completely is that it targets something very old in the psyche. The wish to return to a state before effort was required, the infant at the breast, the fantasy of total provision. Freud would call it the pleasure principle. I would say it maps onto an archetypal longing, the paradise before the fall, the garden before the labor. Convenience sells itself as a return to that state, and the psyche recognizes the advertisement.
You are making it too elaborate. People reach for comfort because comfort is immediately here and presence is difficult. That is all. You do not need mythology to explain water flowing downhill.
Finally, something I can use. Water flows downhill unless you build a channel. That is what voluntary discomfort is, a channel. You do not wait for meaning to arrive. You construct the conditions in which meaning becomes possible. Sitting in a cold room, walking without a destination, eating without distraction, these are not performances of virtue. They are channels. They redirect the flow.
I do not object to the channel. I object to building it without understanding why the river runs the way it does. A person can impose all the discomfort they like and still be running from themselves. I have seen it in patience, rigorous exercise, strict diets, punishing schedules, and beneath all of it, the same wound, untouched. The self-discipline was real, the self-understanding was absent, so the misery persisted under a different name.
Then the question is not whether to seek discomfort or comfort, or whether to understand yourself first or act first. The question is whether you are doing any of it with any awareness at all. Most people are not. They drift toward ease the way smoke drifts toward the open window, not chosen, just moved.
Drift is the word, and drift is the enemy, not pleasure. drift. A person can take pleasure in a meal and be fully present. A person can rest and be fully conscious. What kills you is the automatic reaching. The hand to the screen before the thought completes. The avoidance so quick you never even know what you were avoiding. That is the thing that compounds.
I agree with that much. The automaticity is the problem. But I want to push on something. You say choose discomfort. What does that actually mean? Choose to be cold? Choose to wait? Or choose to stop running from whatever the discomfort is pointing at? Because if it is only the first kind, you are building character, but not insight. And character without insight is brittle. It holds until the right trigger appears, and then it fractures.
I keep watching you two argue about how to use difficulty, but you are assuming difficulty must be used. What if the first step is just to stop filling every moment? Not to replace comfort with struggle, simply to stop filling. What is left when the filling stops? That is what you are actually dealing with.
I do not disagree, but stopping the filling requires will, and will requires practice. You cannot suddenly stop reaching for the phone by understanding that you reach for it. You have to deliberately not reach for it repeatedly until the reflex weakens. Understanding without practice is just more content to consume.
And practice without understanding is just accumulating discipline while the shadow grows larger. You are both right in a narrow sense. But the question the listener should be asking is not which of you is correct. It is which failure they are more at risk of. The undisciplined person who understands everything about their patterns and never changes, or the highly disciplined person who has never once sat with what they are actually afraid of.
That is the first useful thing you have said, Jung. Most people already know which failure is theirs.
They do, and knowing is not the same as moving.
But moving without knowing often just relocates the problem.
You are both right, and the person listening to this has probably already felt it. That moment when the hand moves toward the phone, and something in them notices the hand moving. That noticing is not nothing. That is the beginning of something.
The noticing means nothing if you still pick up the phone.
The noticing means everything because it is the only place from which a real choice is possible.
And what is underneath the impulse the hand is following, that is worth at least one honest look.
Honest looks are fine, but at some point, you have to put the phone down.
Yes, at some point you do.
You have heard 3 different arguments. All of them circled the same place. Now stop circling. Here is what is true. Convenience does not make you miserable because it is immoral or because you are weak. It makes you miserable because it removes the one thing that makes you capable, the experience of wanting something and working through the wanting to get it. Every time that sequence is bypassed, every time the thing arrives before the effort, before the delay, before the sitting with the difficulty, you lose a small piece of your capacity to tolerate your own life. That is not metaphor, that is what is happening. The misery is not caused by too little comfort. It is caused by too much removal of friction. And the way out is not complicated. It is uncomfortable, which is exactly the point. You do not need to perform austerity. You do not need to make your life harder in ways that impress no one, including yourself. You need to choose, deliberately, one kind of difficulty each day and stay with it. Not because suffering is good, because choosing difficulty is what choosing feels like. Today, try this. Identify the first automatic comfort you reach for in the morning. The phone, the coffee before you are even awake, the first scroll, and delay it by 20 minutes. Do not replace it with something virtuous. Simply wait. Sit with the wanting. Notice that you do not die. That noticing is the beginning of your will coming back. You came into a world that wanted to make everything easy, and it mostly succeeded. Now you are soft in a way you do not like and cannot quite name. The answer is not to suffer more. The answer is to stop letting the easy thing always win. Once a day, one small thing. You choose the harder path and you find out you can walk it. That is not a philosophy, that is a fact about you waiting to be confirmed. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Tribune. 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.